Yes, I'm alive. You're alive. We're alive too.
So if it's dark on y'all end, I did the best I could. Um, I got the brightness behind me if that counts. But yeah,
Yeah, I know you got the brightness behind you. I know that for a fact.
out of here. I am talking about it's Kina, and that is my lovely husband.
Iconic. You messed me up with the whole pointing. I'm thinking, no, I'm not that way. Like I'm over here,
You
you
are
know.
the
But I'm iconic. We both have our own channels. Type in the name that you see on the screen, and it we should pull up. And if we don't pull up, then
we
oh
gonna
no.
we
Links
pulled
in
the
the description below, I guess.
yes, it should be. Um,
I'm nervous
why?
because I've never done this before.
I'll get out of here.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Can you hear me clearly? Am I clear?
Yes, you're clear. Am I clear?
You are clear as day.
But you can see me though, right?
You're a little see through.
Oh, okay. You know I was getting that. All right, go ahead, start the show, baby.
So, as you guys can see in the title, we are talking about how we got back together after divorce. So, do you
It was
want to?
the drugs, more drugs.
What drugs? What
That's
drugs?
how. Um,
You don't even know? You don't know.
yeah, don't know.
Mm-mm.
But go for it, baby. Kick it off, and I'm gonna just pick it back on. I'm gonna be your yes man today.
So, where would you say we were before my dad passed with communication? And I mean, you
Well,
were in,
before
were you dating
um,
a relationship?
say that again. I didn't hear you.
I said, were you in a relationship or were you just dating at that time?
Actually, I was really just trying to date at that time. Well, I think what I got into the relationship probably at the beginning of December, or
Really?
maybe a week after December, like where I, was saying, yeah, that's my girlfriend type.
In
But
December?
I believe so.
Yeah, I
But
moved.
other than that, I was just trying to date, and I was trying to find my happiness because I did feel like my happiness told me to leave, but
I
so
was your,
I was
rela-
just trying to say that again because I couldn't hear you.
I said, you need to fix your phone. It's your phone.
Maybe, but go ahead, please.
Uh, you were looking for your happiness. It was me. You just didn't know it.
Well, no, I knew it. I just didn't have it because the last time that we talked, I was training, and it was in, I want to say, yeah, it was in October, and I was training that mean lady at work that you hear in the background, Sue or whatever, that I don't like to be around. I was training her, and that was one times that we was talking, and the conversation got heated because we both was looking at how things ended with our separate eyes and stuff like that. I was trying to get you to understand where I was at or where I was coming from, and you was trying to do the same, and we wasn't eye to eye. So last time we talked was in October before tragedy, trad, the event.
Mm-hmm. Um, so I think we were kind of in the same place, except I wasn't in a relationship. I don't, yeah, I wasn't even really dating at that point. Um,
Then what were you doing? I don't. I'm be honest. I don't understand what you were doing compared to what what you're saying. Like you've been saying that, but it's like I don't.
So after the situation of the dude that got locked up, that was it for me. So I wasn't dating. I wasn't. I think I may. I don't even think I was on Facebook dating at that point. I wasn't.
Oh, so you were saying at that time?
Yeah,
Okay. What was that?
at
But
that time.
because because I'm like, okay, you was talking to two different dudes, and I'm like, but I see where you're saying at that time. And what was that look for?
Because I'm like that. The time frame of the two, which happened to be like, I think I'm a magnet for Sagittarius. Like
Yeah, that one. Well, oh yeah, the two.
they
But
both were Sagittarius.
one was in 2022 and the other one was in 21.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Yes. Yes. One was Facebook dating, and one I met.
I'm be honest, I'm like the I'm talking about the dudes before the event.
Okay, I am too. So there's the one that I met when my friend came here to visit, and it was her guy's brother.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was serious.
Right.
And then after he went to jail, that was it until I got onto Facebook dating.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
You don't sound too sure of yourself.
Because I'm like, what? But I don't know.
What?
About I'm just like, well, you're talking about them two, and I'm thinking again, did you meet the second one that had the podcast in 2022?
Yes, that was when you around Valentine's when you were. It was literally 2 weeks after Valentine's that I met that person on
Right.
Facebook.
Okay. But then I'm talking about the one that was on the road trip.
We ain't talking. That wasn't. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Well, hey, that's what I'm like. Well, what? That's what had me confused on the time frame because I'm talking about before the event. You know.
So the event was okay. So again, you're saying something and I'm not understanding you. So when you say before the event, you're talking about my dad's passing.
Right.
Before passing, I was dealing with the Sagittarius dude, the first one.
Right.
Event, I was dealing with the second one. So that's the only when you say the event, I'm time framing it between those two times. I met that first Sagittarius in August, the end of August to be specific. So my time frame, the road trip one was uh in August of I need to come down there and see about the laws of marijuana. Let's just put it out there. So I didn't I legit if I could find my text messages, I didn't think that was even a serious thing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay. Well,
um
yeah, I know that. I
it
know
was
that.
a lot of questions about what are the laws and blah blah blah. And I didn't know much, so I was doing research. And then he said that he was coming to visit, and I'm like, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right. You're not coming. You got a girl. You're planning on getting married. All of that fun stuff, and showed up, and it was just a nightmare from the point of arrival. But that
Right. I was thinking that that was at around the same time as the first Sagittarius. That's why I'm. But
it technically was. It technically was. So the conversation started in August. I met the first Sagittarius in August. that road trip happened the end of September, and from that point from that point on, literally the end of September, I started talking more with the first Sagittarius. Like we were talking and I kind of was like, I don't know. And like, oh, we should hang out and whatever. But living all the way in the city, I'm like, yeah, okay, it sounds good. Never, never met up with each other until after the road trip. After the road trip, then it was let's hang out, let's go out to eat, let's get to know each other. And then the first week of November or second week, then he went to jail, and then it was nothing until I got on Facebook dating and met the other Sagittarius.
Okay.
Because
Uh,
the trip one and the first Sagittarius were in Vegas. Both of them were in Vegas.
right, right.
Yeah.
Is that the time when you wore that sexy dress?
Yes.
Mm,
We were all literally in the same room. All everybody. It was like 15 people in there. And that's when the road trip one got upset because I was talking and whatever with the first Sagittarius,
mm.
because he didn't like, and as you being a man, he didn't like how I hugged him.
Yeah, because it be them full body hugs that say, yeah, they had something.
They know each other more than just,
Yeah,
yeah. So he felt threatened, and rightfully so. I don't care. I'm being honest. I don't care. Um,
and people, believe me, if you're thinking about looking at my body language and all that stuff, it's this is something. Sometimes I try to forget the details and be have to ask or whatever. So that kind of I believe that puts her in a different, um, like what the hell, type thing. But my this is something that we've talked about and I've had to come to grips with, and she had to come to grips with, the different relationship or whatever for me, as well as I have to come to grips with what she did or been into, whatever. So
it's communication.
that's you cut out because I don't know if it's catching it, but that's what we've had to go through. You have to be able to say, hey, whatever we've been through outside of us, we have to accept it, and accept it in the form of understand where each other was at, understanding. So don't think that this is a entanglement type of situation or whatever. I totally understand and get where she's coming from. My times were just off. All right, so
It's as I was saying, it's just communication. The one thing of how we got back together after being divorced, a big part of it was communicating, putting everything on the table and understanding what we needed. Like he said, he was looking for his happiness. So us talking right now about those situations and the people we dated, we've already had this conversation a few times. So it's nothing new. It's not a me feeling uncomfortable. It's not a me not wanting to talk about it, because we've already had, even my friends are like, you told him everything? And I'm like, yeah, everything. So it's not, it's not a, he
and
doesn't,
it has to be everything because over time especially if you got the mind like me where I pay attention to what's being said, paying attention to details and stuff like that. Like, you know, if it's not everything being spoken about or whatever, later on down the line, something might be said or whatever, and it's like, hold up, but that's not what was said or whatever have you back then. Like, so that would cause um the feeling of being like, can I trust her with telling me everything, or can I trust him with telling me everything, because back then was said this, but then no, it's not that. So it has to be, all or nothing.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to be all or nothing with your partner, then why are you trying to let somebody hold your heart and hold your feelings if you don't trust them 100%?
Yeah. You have to be open and honest. And like you said, because even on my end, I have petty people that will come in and say, oh, well, I was with your girl, or I went out of town with your girl or your wife or whatever. And I've empowered him to the point where he can say, I know, okay. And it's not a surprise or a shock where he's blindsided by someone coming at him sideways with some information that they think he doesn't know. So, with all that being said, that was kind of the um I don't know if you want to say preface to us leading up to getting back together, because again, we both were looking for something, and conveniently my husband is a Sagittarius and I wound up dealing with two Sagittariuses. So when it came down to it, and I don't have my notebook, but I wrote in a notebook before we even got back together all my needs, everything I needed, what would make me happy. And the list, I can't remember how many was on there. I think there was like 18 on there, I think. Everything that I
uh no, I think you had like 42. You had a gang of them, because the only one that I remember is number 17.
it was 18. It was.
No, number 17.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I will never forget it.
I'm not it. But
And
either way,
I
I
swear you had 40 or 30.
well, okay, so I had a lot on there.
Yeah.
When I made that list, I made my list, and it it was based off of the fact that I was out there dating and trying to deal with people, and what I was used to versus what I was getting. So I made a list and I said, okay, I need someone that's going to openly communicate with me. Someone that if I text them, they're going to respond back within a reasonable amount of time and not, leave me unread or ignore me for a whole day or a day and a half. Like, I'm not used to that. So that is one of my needs. Now, when I made that list, it wasn't about sitting on a high horse and expecting someone to reach sky high. It was just understanding I need A through Z. This is what I need to be happy. I'm not expecting someone to have everything on this list. It wasn't about financial status. It wasn't about what type of shoes they wore. It was literally the things that I needed that would make me happy. That's what, just little things like someone who's going to give me surprise gifts or go out to eat, or someone who's willing to YouTube with me, because I literally, one of the Sagittarius I dealt with didn't want nothing to do with social media, didn't want nothing to do with whatever. And so I'm like, okay, me being a YouTuber, is that going to be a problem for you? And it was. So it's like, I can't deal with someone who's going to have an issue with what I like to do or what interests me. I want to travel. And if this person doesn't like to travel, that's going to be a problem. So those are things that were on my list. It got X-rated, but I think we have to be honest with ourselves and say I need someone that's going to satisfy me. I need someone who's going to pay attention to me. I need someone who's going to learn me. I need someone who's going to care about my pleasure as much as they care about theirs. Because if you care about my pleasure, I'm going to care about your pleasure in return. And if I can't get that from someone, then that's going to be a problem. Those are things that are going to be a conflict in a relationship. So when I made that list, I was very specific, from basic to like the fact that I'm a picky eater. So I need to know that I'm dealing with someone that's okay with me not eating meat, or me not wanting to eat whatever vegetables, or whatever it is. Like, I don't want someone to force me to eat the way they eat because they don't want to understand my choices of being healthy and not eating the things that I don't eat. So when I made that list, after I was done, I don't even know if it was after I was done dealing with the second Sagittarius. I think in the midst of dealing with the second Sagittarius, I started adding to it because I realized there was things that I needed that still would not have been met, or there was things that I didn't realize I needed. Like, someone, like, I'm into astrology, so I need to know that I'm going to deal with someone who's okay with astrology and zodiacs, because some people are 100% against it. It's devilish and whatever else. I also put on there that I need to deal with someone who understands my spirituality and my religion, because both of the Sagittarius that I dealt with did not agree with my religion at the time. They have their own religions, so that's a conflict. So I had to put
Hold on, baby. First of all, ain't that's not religion.
well, okay.
Yeah, they
I
might have had religion, but go ahead, go
well,
ahead.
at the time, in fairness, at the time I still was under a religious thinking.
Okay, okay.
At the time, I was in the beginning stages of moving towards my spirituality and understanding religion versus spirituality. So, in fairness, I was still leaning to the left.
Yeah,
So I made that list of understanding my needs. In the process of meeting the second Sagittarius after my dad had passed away, and just kind of trying to deal with that situation, and just, yeah. Um my husband, who was just a emotional rock in my life at that point, because again, the other Sagittarius wound up going to jail. That was a whole situation. And then the second Sagittarius didn't acknowledge where I was at emotionally when I mentioned that my dad had just passed, really didn't even touch the subject at all. So it was, I think that was even something that I put on my list of someone who can help me get through what I was going through, someone that will be supportive of my emotional state. And I made that list. And then in the process of my dad passing, my husband put me in a spirituality class, um, comedic centered learning,
living.
living. Okay, I thought it was living, but I said learning. So KCL, which helped me to kind of get through what I was dealing with my dad's passing. In that process, it it for me, it went from understanding his passing to understanding myself. And in understanding myself in that moment, it probably was a matter of 2 weeks of, and I was talking to my husband about the Sagittarius that I was dealing with from Facebook dating. I will never do that again. I swear I will never do that again. Um, I was talking to my husband about even the guy that I met. Like, oh, this guy's really nice. He's a Sagittarius. He's into astrology, like all of this stuff. But in that process, it went from communicating with this person almost daily to like every other day to like a couple of days later to like this person completely disappearing. And so my husband even said at the time, like, you need someone who's going to be there for you. And in that process of me trying to learn who I was, we started having a conversation about what we needed from each other in the past. And me being honest with myself and saying, I apologize for not communicating with you. I apologize.
Well, hold on, because I like that. Um, and I feel like I just need to say it to give people a little bit better understanding. Like when I helped her get into class or whatever, before we really talked about what we needed from each other in the past, we were talking about how the class opened up our eyes to see what we really want for ourselves. And then it trickled on into, being able and open to talk about the past and you know our needs and wants that we needed in the past that wasn't getting met, that led us to where we were. I'm sorry, baby. Continue.
I feel like I pretty much said that, but you just reset it.
I did, but throwing in the fact that we we had to learn ourselves
I said that first.
before.
I had to understand me. It took me
Well,
into n- me, my self awareness, and then it led into other things, but it was about me. It went from me being in that class of understanding my dad's passing to then focusing on myself. Um,
you're right.
but you know, fast forward from all of that, it opened a door for us to communicate about, because I had revelation about myself. It opened a door for us to communicate and kind of heal our past and what we have been through in the past with each other, because we have been together for like,
Damn. Let's just say Ju- Ju- July. Come July, we it would be 20 years knowing each other.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
Yeah, in July.
No, because I met you for Keavin's first birthday. He had just turned 1. So we're a year less than Keavin. So it'll be 19 because he was already 1.
I thought we was going on 20.
No, we're a year less than him. I met you. His birthday's in June, and I say we met in June. You say July, but that's
Oh, June. I thought his birthday was in July. My bad.
no. So we met a year after he was born. He was still a
Yeah,
baby,
right.
so, and he will be 20. So yeah. So
Okay, 19. Damn.
I know. We don't look it though. Hey, Lisa. Okay. Anywho, so
I didn't see that, but okay, I'm gonna watch it back.
so we were talking. We had been together at that point. Prior to that, it had been 20. I mean, about 17 years, 16, 17 years, if my math is right. So we had that many years healing that we had to fix. And we did that in a matter of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe.
And
Um,
that's all accounted to laying everything out on the table, being transparent. Um Being transparent with a bottle of Windex, like, you know, if I'm gonna say this my own opinion. If it's taking a long time, let's say months, years, or whatever, I feel like if it has to take that long for you to create a foundation of understanding between you and your loved one, if it takes longer than that, now this is not saying um getting healed or past trauma. That's different. I'm just talking about just the fact of understanding. If it's more than the months and more than a year, then that that transparency ain't so transparent. Somebody somewhere is still not wanting something to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Um so we almost on a daily, I think at this point where we were the end of February, beginning of March, I was just starting to potentially date, and your relationship was kind of fizzling out because you realized that some of your needs weren't being met, or the situation that
Mm.
just wasn't what you were looking for, what you weren't used to. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm gonna let you speak on that.
Yeah, so during the time, I think I met her in October, or probably coming to the end of October, beginning of November. Um and it was cool. She definitely wasn't my physical type or whatever. But I was like, everybody's not gonna be physically, and right now I was in the realm of, just I need somebody mentally to understand. And it was cool for the most part, but then over time, like little things, like, okay, I don't eat pork. I don't want to eat pork, and I'm like, I don't want to have pork in my house. So like I remember that being the first thing, because she's like, well, I'm gonna have pork in my house. So when we live together, there gonna be pork. You don't have to eat pork. But I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want that. Because she was real big on wanting me to be the man of the house, and I'm like, I have no problem with being the man of the house. I don't have no problem with taking the helm, all that, leading, all that, and she loved that about me. But then you're gonna go and talk about the pork, and I'm telling you, like, no, you are seeing that I'm steadfast on not having pork in the house, and you're gonna tell me otherwise. So I'm like, it's not to say that I was gonna, rule with an iron fist, but like you don't eat pork like that anyway, but you're gonna tell me that there is gonna be pork in the house, but you don't eat pork like that. That didn't sit well with me. So it was like, yeah, I'd say it wasn't a red flag, but it was like a half a red flag. Like, look here, if it's that much about pork, then what else you gonna fight me on?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. The day of the event, um, is the same day I had asked her. I was like, do we have anything remotely, anything else that between us? Like, what do we have between us other than bumping uglies or whatever? What is it? Do we have anything? Because how I feel is is nothing but X-rated. Like, what is there? Like, and even at that moment, I thought about my wife, because I'm like, and that sounds weird, but I thought about my wife because I know that she had an issue with me in the past with sexuality or whatever, and it's like I feel like I was proud of myself because I'm like, yes, I've told her that in the past, but now I'm understanding, and maybe I haven't showed her that in the past that it's not about the sex because I could care well, I wouldn't say I could care less, but every man needs sex, you know. But it it wasn't my driving force, and just asking like, is this all we have? Because if for me, if that's all we have, then we ain't got we ain't got nothing. And when I tell you she was, yeah, we do. Well, what? Uh, uh, I mean, if y'all was there, if you could see the wheels turning fast, smoke. The little hamster on the wheel was making smoke like metal to metal. She was trying to search for something, and it just made me realize that's all it is, you know. And even after that, little bit by little, I started to see that I wasn't her. She wasn't. I was feeling more like a meal ticket. I'm gonna just say it like that. I was feeling more like a meal ticket than anything, and that didn't sit well with me. So when I did go into the class, and I'm starting to learn and this and that, and I'm trying to even talk to her about what I'm learning, and there's nothing. There's nothing. Like how can you be in a relationship where somebody is trying to talk to you, have a communication, and you're not even entertaining anything. Like, you know, um so then when I came across the deaf part in the class, and I was screen recording and sending it to her or whatever, and then and she was feeling it. I'm talking about my wife now. She was feeling it. She was like, wow, she seemed very interested. And that made me feel good because I was able to start to talk about spirituality with somebody that was interested. So then I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and help you get in. And she got in, and like she said, 2 weeks or whatever, she was moving and grooving in there because it's like a legit online class. You go through it, read, listen, whatever, and then you take tests, moving and grooving. And there was multiple times where, again, I'm still in a relationship where we would be on the phone. I would be on the phone in front of her talking, and you know it felt good to just talk about something that was making us both happy, and whatnot. um and baby, do you remember the time where I had went and I hooked up the downstairs bathroom, my very first time hooking up the downstairs bathroom, and I showed you pictures, and you was like before and after, and how you was like, wow, and I told you I sent that to her, and I got nothing. She was like, what is this? What am I looking at? I'm text back like the before and after. You see what I did? Oh, okay. That right there was like, all right, that's another one, you know. And even before then, I we had got into an argument, the girl that I was with, and it was about her kid. So, that was another one. So I think after that, we kept on talking or whatever, kept on dating, kept on talking. It wasn't until coming to the around the end is when you know, the girl that I was dating is like we had a talk, and I just realized right then and there she wasn't the one for me. I wasn't going to continue the relationship. And it 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 was her relationship with her. It was a relationship, their relationship together, her and her daughter relationship, and that I wasn't willing to compromise on. So I had ended it. And plus, I was already back falling in love with my wife anyway. So, you know, it was, and even if, and at that time, my wife didn't know that I was having feelings back for her anyway. But I knew that, okay, because I'm up here in Minnesota, it might not go anywhere anyway because she's down there in Arizona. And I was thinking to myself, I'm in this relationship, and I'm like, yeah, I'm already thinking about checking out, cheating. If you want to say cheating, yeah, I was already thinking, like, man, you know what? I'm not feeling her. I don't want to hurt her feelings. And that, I was battling with myself because I'm like, that's wrong. You know you don't want to hurt her feelings, but do you want to string her along and this and that? And I'm like, you know, I don't know. But I was like, you know what? I can't do it, and I ended it. She was mad. She even, like, it was funny because after I ended it with her, no, you really don't want that. Da, da, da. And she had made me something to eat and brought it. I was like, no, fellas, if she's mad and you broke up and all of a sudden she then made you some food, are you really gonna eat it? Nah, I took it and then I threw it away. I'm like, mm. And then shortly after that, me and my wife got back together.
Yes. So in the midst of me kind of my little dating experience on Facebook fizzling out and us kind of uh communicating and kind of healing our past and his relationship fizzling out, we started talking like we've never talked before. We were so open, excuse me. We were so open of our communication. It had never been that way. Not even in the past. Like our communication was on a completely different level. Like one thing about my husband, like he mentioned, I can't remember exactly when. Um, I know like we were following each other on TikTok and Facebook still, and he had mentioned about poly interest in the whole poly, I may be saying it wrong, but the poly situation. And this girl, from my understanding, this woman was into that. So when he was telling me when we were still friends and following each other on social media, I'm like, he didn't found his perfect match. And
Yeah, I thought so because I'm like, yo, she is down for threesomes. Nope, I'll say that she's down for threesomes. However, and threesomes, foursomes, whatever, she was down for it, but she wasn't down to live a poly life no more. Which, so I thought I found, I thought I found one, and
well,
and, and I did, but
me being on the outside and not really knowing the dynamics of y'all relationship, just seeing it here and there on social media, um, I was like, he found someone that can give him what I couldn't. That's how I was seeing it. And then when we got back together and he talked about those things that were on his list of needs or things that he was interested in, that was brought up. And I'm not as I told him, I'm not gonna knock your need for that or your interest in that. I'm not ready. In the future, if you can sell, I'm the type of person, if you could sell me on it, then I'm for it. But you gotta sell me on it. Guys sell me on it. And so we talked about our sexual needs and communicated that to each other. And honestly, I think that even took our relationship to a higher level and made solidified it even more, because we realized through understanding our love language, understanding our sex language. There was another quiz that we took. Um, we were on the same page of needs and wants. Love language was basically neck and neck of needs. The sex language was right there. So we, to fast forward, because we are getting very close to an hour, and we will do a part two, because I think people understanding the biggest thing is communication and being open, being transparent. When you have those things in place, nothing should go wrong, in my opinion. Nothing should go wrong. There should never be an issue, because you can openly say, "Hey, my needs aren't being met," or, you're it bothers me that your ex is doing this, or whatever the case may be. You can talk about it without fear of um not rejection, but just knowing that if I tell you I have an issue with something, that person is willing to listen, understand, and fix it if they can fix it. So if I know that his in the past, like you said, his sex drive was an issue for me. His sex drive was like way up here, and I was like way down here. And honestly, I don't think that was the case. I think we just weren't communicating on a level for us to be on the same level. So our needs weren't being met. So I'm feeling like I'm down here, because the way that I express sexual need is not the same way he expresses sexual need. And for me, I thought it was all physical. And really, like, we've been here, there, and it doesn't always have to be about sex as much as it is about us just being able to touch each other, to hold each other, to spend time with each other. The sex is obviously a bonus, but our needs were more than that, but we weren't communicating that with each other. We didn't take the time to get to know each other on that deeper level, to know that, okay, he just wants to be held, or he needs attention, or she needs attention, she wants to be held, she wants to be acknowledged, or whatever it is. And so I feel like that is a like communication is so key when it comes to your relationships. So that's communication alone is how we got remarried. We met up in Vegas for the first time like 2 months later,
Yeah.
about later, and
We didn't leave the room. Now, but before I talk about that, like about the sex needs or whatever, like, one of my things even back then was like me flirting with her or whatever, and she would say, "You always think about sex. It's not about sex. It's me flirting with you, just wanting for you to flirt back. Like, that's it. It had got nothing to do with sex."
it was for me at that moment of, and it wasn't even between us, because the one thing that I will say, and I've admitted to him, is when you hang around a bunch of people, the mindset of those people become your mindset as well.
Hmm.
So if you're dealing with a bunch of people, like if it's a bunch of guys, they're going to think women are a certain way. If it's a bunch of girls, they're going to think men are a certain way. So even though I had a more solid relationship than my friends, their mindset was, I wouldn't say it was fully mine. If their mindset is men only want sex, and I have a man at home, I'm going to think to some degree that's all he cares about. And if he does things that that make my mindset true, then I'm going to believe that. So if he does things where he wants to touch, or he wants, if he's doing or saying certain things, then I'm gonna think, okay, that's all he cares about is sex. You don't care about that I'm sitting at the computer trying to work on YouTube, or find a different meal to make. You only care about sex. And that was a big part of our argument, because those other things that I cared about, I didn't feel like were front and center. They didn't have the same importance to him as they had to me. So we really had to get to a level of communicating everything. Like even now, like there was a couple months ago that he made a post, and it was a post in relation to needing attention. And so when I saw it, I immediately called him and was like, "Do you need attention? Am I not giving you enough attention?" And he said, "Well, no, you're not." And it was just that simple. It didn't have to be an argument. It didn't have to be a whatever. Did I express like, okay, then you should have told me instead of putting it on Facebook? Absolutely. But we're still growing and learning. But you have to communicate with each other to know. Hell, at this point, I feel like he knows my needs before I need them or can express them. And I know his needs before he knows or expresses them. I could be sitting at this computer for 16 hours a day and he'll say, "You need to go to sleep." I will argue that I don't, but then if I lay down, I'm knocking out. I'm going to sleep. So it's really just knowing that person better than they know themselves. So we're gonna end it here. We're gonna do a part two, because I think it's really important that we really kind of touch up on communication and being an open book. Because like we said in the very beginning, us communicating and talking about what we have been through during our separation empowered us, so that if his ex or anyone that he dealt with came to me and said, "Oh, well, he was doing this and that, and we did this and that, or he said this and that about you," it's good. Okay. And, for me, I would say something smart like, "I'm sorry you feel the need to even come to me and say that. I'm sorry that you're not healed enough that you feel the need to come and try and destroy me." I will say something slick like that. But it's also empowering him. So that if someone comes to him and be like, "Oh, look what she texted me," or "Look what she said to me," he's gonna be like, "I already know y'all dealt with each other. Like, and what are you doing? What's the point?" It's stuff like that that I feel is powerful just in general, because people are like that. There's a lot of hurt people. There's, oh, they'll see, "Oh, well, y'all are doing good. I'm gonna come in and ruin it." So if you guys are locked like this and you don't allow someone to come through it, they won't. But if you allow that gap between the two of y'all when it comes to your communication, you're opening the door for people to come in and destroy your whole relationship. Be open, be honest, be truthful, communicate your needs and wants, and you guys will be exactly where we are, remarried after divorce.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, look out for part two. And I'm your guy, Iconic, and that's my lovely wife.
Talk about it, Takina.
And this is Jupiter's Love. And we're out.